Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. If you have been enjoying the show to this point, the best way to let us know is by subscribing, rating, and leaving a review. Take a minute now or after the show to tell us what you think. Thanks again and enjoy today's episode.
Welcome to the Edge of Greatness podcast. The path to greatness is never linear and requires patience and consistency. Join us on our journey as we peel back the layers of success, searching for that elusive core. Each week we will explore a different component of greatness. Utilizing experts who have traveled some part of the path that we are all on, we aim to uncover insights into the areas of leadership, coaching, performance, overcoming failure, the power of habits, and so much more. We are all on the edge of greatness.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I've got a special guest with me, Coach Quentin Eberhardt. He is the Director of Baseball Sports Performance at the University of Tennessee. We grew up together, played some ball together, had the same high school coach, and so we think pretty similarly on a lot of things, but he's had some pretty awesome experiences that I think would be beneficial for my up-and-coming athletes as well as some of the coaches out there who have had a chance to listen to some of the podcasts. So Quentin was a collegiate player, and from there he decided to go the strength and conditioning route, much like myself, except for he went into the baseball field instead of the private sector, and he's worked with Gulf Coast League Astros, Corpus Christi Hooks, Quad City River Bandits, Norland Baby Cakes, which is a AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins before ending up at Tennessee. So he's been around a little bit. He's talked with a lot of high-level athletes and coaches, and we're going to pick his brain a little today and see kind of what he knows. So thank you, Q, for joining.
Thanks for having me, bro. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. I'm pretty pumped to hear what you got going on because I know you had a pretty surprising spring last year where you started the season and then, all right, everybody go home. Bye.
Yeah, very random, man. Very random. It was literally we were loading the bus up for Columbia, South Carolina, to go have a first opening of SEC series there, and then started watching the news, and then we got the call that, hey, hold up, don't get too comfy on that bus yet. And then it was, okay, don't even get on the bus. And then it was hurry up and wait, and it was, are we gonna play? And then slowly but surely turned out to be, obviously more important factors with the United States and the country and the world had to prevail. So
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I would handle that if I was a college player and being told my season was over. But I'm sure you had some differing reactions from some of the players, I'm sure.
It was, man, they handled it amazingly. Like, I guess, go to show the culture that we had with the team last year and the culture that we're trying to change here, because it was adversity. It wasn't ideal, obviously, but helping them realize that this is happening for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't just a joke. There's if this is getting canceled, then it's for a reason, and we need to respect that and understand that, and then kind of roll with the punches. And they did, man. I don't know if I would have handled it that well, but they did an amazing job, especially with how the season was going at that time too.
Yeah. You guys were looking pretty strong, weren't you?
We were rolling, man. We were rolling pretty good, and things were starting to come together, and we're starting to get two of our big horses back, which was going to be exciting to see. And like I said, when you get that taken away from you, you kind of realize, wow, some of these guys are maturing and they're understanding what life's all about and what we preach. So it was good to see.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear for sure. So tell me a little bit now. Obviously, you're back to doing some work with the guys. They're prepping for the upcoming season, but there's still some uncertainty with everything. So talk to me about what they're going through, what you're going through, and how that's going.
Well, it's tough because you're training for the unknown. You know what I mean? Even from a programming aspect, from a mental aspect, from when to peak. Typically how my program is getting them to peak at the right times, and then now it's like we don't know when that time is. We don't know if it's March. We don't know what it's going to look like. I haven't even really heard any rumors. So honestly, just keeping them ready for whatever may come. Next task, next man up, next task is kind of the motto that we're kind of going with this year, because you have to keep them mentally engaged. You know how it was. A lot of guys aren't, as intrinsically motivated as you and I specifically were in college, and to keep them with the next task at hand and realizing that's bigger picture, making sure the grades are in order, making sure the nutrition is right, making sure the training is right, making sure the on-field aspects are right. It's been tough, but it's been a good challenge that hopefully won't have to go through again. But
yeah, let's hope not. I'd love to make it down and watch a game this year because I had already had my plans to come down and watch you guys play, and then all that got canceled. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man.
Right.
So, so speaking to the intrinsic motivation part, because I think that's kind of interesting. And for me personally, I feel like that's something that like a lot of pro athletes, they're intrinsically motivated, but I may be wrong with that. Like they're just talented and they still need to be pushed the same. So what I want to dig in on that is what's the biggest difference between working with college athletes and pro athletes for you?
A lot of it is the motivation. But you're exactly right. Don't get it twisted. There are guys in the professional rankings that God has just blessed them and they don't have the motivation. He didn't bless them though with the motivation. Which is why, guys our people in our field still have a career and jobs and it's still in demand, is because you have to be able to do that sometimes. But I say the biggest thing across the board is the mental side to me. The mentally, whether it be the motivation, whether it be the mental toughness, whether it be the determination, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective you want to use, I think that's the biggest thing for me. A lot of successful big leaguers just are very, very stubborn. And whether that's in a good way or bad way, they're stubborn. And I've been blessed, like you said, to talk and be around and pick brains of a lot of great minds in baseball. And like even Barry Bonds is very stubborn. And that's not, he's a great human being, but stubborn as far as a hitter goes. Like when we would talk hitting philosophy and stuff like that. And he's stubborn enough to lay off of, whatever pitches he's not looking for. That's a stubborn individual. Just to say, okay, this is a changeup, outer half, it's a strike. I don't want that. I'm not looking for that. That's hard to do. And so I think a lot mental side of things is what for me differentiates a lot of the big leaguers and guys that stay in the big leagues. Because you also have your guys that get, and it's no disrespect to them because the cup of coffee guys, that's still, there's only a handful of guys in general. I would have killed for a cup of coffee in the big leagues.
For sure.
But the difference between those guys and then the 15-year, 20-year big leaguers, to me, it's the mental. It's to know how to do stuff that you don't want to do day in, day out, whether it be, if you're a pitcher, throw a bullpen on a day that you're just not really feeling it, or work out, or eat right, or just whatever may have you for any individual situation. To me, that is what I see, across the board is the difference between the constant big leaguers and then the guys at this level, to just mentally be able to mature and realize that there's a lot of things I'm going to have to do whether I want to or not.
So for you as a coach, how do you help some of these younger guys that you're working with now to develop some of that mindset that you're talking about? Do you pick a certain point? Do you pick a certain topic? Do you just kind of develop it all together?
Well, yeah, I say all together, but it honestly depends on the individual, man. Because obviously every athlete's different, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, what you've been through in life. So you really have to find out what makes each player tick, and then find out, what kind of, if you have a player who's very intrinsically motivated, but might just not understand of what it takes, might think they're working hard. It's another thing, a lot of people come to Tennessee and think they're working hard, and they realize they have no idea of what it truly takes. And I don't mean just putting hours in. Anybody can clock long hours. You can take it for 5 hours and not be very productive. It's not always working hard, it's working smart. And so teaching them that's another thing too. But yeah, it's definitely individualized. And to see, like, for example, we had one of our guys, Garrett Crochet. He was probably our highest draft pick. No, definitely our highest draft pick since we've been here. He was 11 overall to the White Sox. And over the years, just talking with him about what it takes. And to see also goal setting is huge too. So another thing is a lot of young people, not just, male athletes I work with overall, I find don't have goals in line. And they're just out kind of just copacetic, just kind of being as they are. And it's like, okay, well, that's cool and all, but whether it's on the field, off field, whether you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, businessman, whatever, what are your goals and how are you going to attain them? And then what's going to happen if you can't attain goal number 1 or goal A, and then there's B, C, backup plan, whatever. So helping them with that too is understanding, there's got to be a process. You can't just go out here and just kind of, be as you are and just hope that everything works out. It's having a process and a plan, and then being able to stray away from the plan if adversity hits, being able to bounce back. So that's another thing too, that like seeing these young kids now, teaching them how to handle adversity, because you're going to have it in any shape. Like your college career didn't go as you wanted. Mine didn't either. So how are you going to bounce back from that and still be able to be okay and successful? And be a great father, great husband, et cetera, et cetera. How are you going to, because life's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So teaching these kids that, I think it helps, and to correlate that to off the field, so that way when stuff happens on the field, and that's easy. That's the easy part.
Yeah, I appreciate that a lot to my kids. You're going to fail in this game. You picked a game that is more failure than success. That's on you, man. You picked the wrong sport if you can't handle that.
Yeah.
But the truth is that's life too. Like anything you do at a high level, there's a high chance of failure.
Yep.
But if you keep moving forward and you don't quit, that's your opportunity. I wanted to touch a little bit on the goals you were talking about, because I find that people think they set goals, but they don't actually set goals. They have like wishes.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about how you clarify what's a real goal for your guys. Like, because I'm sure you got guys who come in who've always had success, because obviously you don't get recruited by SEC baseball if you're not good.
Right.
So you may not have ever had to set real goals, or maybe your goal was just to get to Tennessee or play college ball. But now that you're there, what's the next step? How do you teach them how to set right goals?
For one, they need to be prioritized. That's one thing. And for me, for what I like to see for them is the main goal has to be winning, for one, while you're here. Win. So and that's very vague. And that's intentional though. That's intentional, because then when you keep that vague as the team goal. If the team goal is to win and you want to do whatever it takes to win, okay, that might be lay down a sack bunt. That might be move a runner over. Okay, that's going to vary depending on the situation, right? So then once we have the team goal, that has to be the operative goal to win. And that starts at the top, from Coach Tony Vitello all the way, Coach Anderson, Coach Elander, everybody on down, Coach Ross Kivett, Chad Zerka, everybody on down. Winning is the ultimate goal. If it's not going to help us win, we're not going to do it. Fact, blunt. That's the most blunt thing I've ever said. And you know me, I'm very blunt anyway. But if it's not going to help us win, we're not going to do it. That's how, for my training, how I program. They're going to help us win. And in order to help us win, what do we got to do? Develop. Get these guys. That's the second one, to get these guys better. And so that's the individual part. So then once you get with these guys and find out what their individual goals need to, or individual, things they need to fix, work on, objectives, then, okay, what are the goals that are going to help the team win, for one? Then we go on to the individual goals. And that's where it's okay to be, I call it good selfish goals. Sorry, everybody wants to be good selfish. As long as it can be under the umbrella of the team goals, that's fine. Everybody wants to have the, first team SEC, whatever you want to be, first rounder, whatever they may have you. And keeping those realistic. Knowing thyself is huge. Knowing thyself is humongous. And I think a lot of people sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with setting goals high. I highly encourage it. One of my former bosses, Mark Del Piano, when we used to talk, and, when I played, I just wanted to get drafted. That's all I wanted. Like, give me into the door and I'll impress. And when we would talk, he's like, he doesn't want to hear that from a player. He doesn't want to hear, I just want to get drafted. Because he's like, then when you come to that goal, it's very hard for young kids to realize, okay, what's next? He's like, so I want to hear the kid that's going to say, I want to make it to the big leagues. I want to be in the big leagues. I want to be a big leaguer. I was like, wow, that it threw me for a loop, because I didn't have that train of thought. Obviously, I wanted to make it to the big leagues when I played, but I was just like, just give me a chance was my mindset back then. So I guess teaching these kids how to make them high, realistically high, and then also, once you knock down that fence and that first goal, how to have another one ready. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, because I think that sometimes we set our goals too low, and that's just as dangerous as setting it too high. And there's got to be some middle ground, but I would almost encourage, like you said, almost erring on the side of too high, but knowing that there's a whole lot of work that goes into that high goal. Like
100%. Because then, and I know I don't ever want to think negative, and that's another thing too. I don't care any down talk or negative talk in our program. Like, our guys don't say, you don't use the word can't.
Oh, I love
you
that.
You can accomplish anything you put in, and literally we don't use the word can't in any form. Cannot, whatever you want to use, we don't use it.
Right.
I would much rather have them set them high, because if God forbid you don't accomplish that, I mean, just shy, falling, like for me, for example, like I didn't play a inning of professional baseball. I think I'm relatively, depends on what your definition is of successful. I think I've accomplished a lot of my other goals. And I'm okay with that. I can sleep at night, and I still work hard to be as best man I can be, best father, best fiance, whatever I can be, best coach, and then to try to coach Gus, the rest of these kids. So that way, if I can, and I have more goals. There's nothing wrong with setting your goals really high. My goal was to play in the big leagues. Didn't accomplish that, but so helping them understand that, and that all it's going to do is help you keep yourself accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And so helping them understand that, I think, is one thing that helps me help them.
Right. And I remember when I came down to visit you, what was it, like 2 falls ago now? You talked about, wanting to play in the bigs. Obviously, so did I. But now you use that same goal to transition to, I'm going to get to the bigs with what you're doing now. Is that still something you're pushing towards? Or are you still thinking about making that leap at some point if it comes available?
No, man, that's not really a goal of mine anymore in this capacity as coaching.
Okay.
For various reasons. For one, I'm happy where I'm at right now. Not even just happy. Like, I don't want to make it seem like, I'm content. No, I love here. I love the development here. I love the ability here to see the look on some of these families' faces when you see year one, a freshman come in. For example, I'll use Crochet. It's the easiest, most recent example. Year one, and then throwing 84. And then year 3, he's topping up, 101 and to be an 11 overall. And then 3 months later, you see him throwing for the White Sox on TV, hitting 102, striking big leaguers out. That development, it's so rewarding, so fulfilling. I mean, you can't, there's no high in the world that's bigger than that for me. So I think, like, the big league is cool and all, but the sexiness is worn off, because it's like, at the end of the day, for my field of what I do and the career stability and here and the coaching staff too, man, that's another reason, man. The coaching staff, you don't get across the board the camaraderie we have with the staff, even from across the board, from my athletic trainer, Jeff Wood, everybody. Like, I don't take that for granted anymore. When you work with great, and I've been blessed to work with great athletic trainers and managers and hitting coaches across the board in all 4 of my organizations I was with. But you just don't take these things for granted. When you get into a great situation, you know what I mean? Like, when you hit a point in life to where it's like you stop looking for the next best thing, and you're where your feet are. You know what I mean? Like,
I love that.
Say that, be where your feet are, and you're embracing I'm watering the lawn I'm in right now, man, and I'm loving it. It's green, it's green as heck right now, and I'm loving it, and that's where I'm at with that,
No, yeah, and I think for you, this is just me knowing you, that the teaching aspect of what you get to do at the college level, because I remember we talking about, working with pro athletes, and you can put the best program together in the world for them, but they're still pro athletes. At the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. You can't just go and force somebody to do a workout and then they're sore and then they go compete and they suck. But you can teach these kids the right way to do things before they get to that level, that hopefully at the end of the day helps them get to the next step, and then you get to watch them shine as they grow up and go up the ladder. So that's
it's the, you said it's teaching the foundational aspects here, and don't give me, and a lot of things, I guess, working with high level pro guys is different. It's like, it's more relationship based, and you got to get, and that's by no means is a bad thing. It's a great thing. Developing the trust to understand that for them to be like, okay, yeah, he does know what he's talking about. He does have my best interest in mind. And then seeing, what you're trying to help them with coming to fruition. And then, whether it be help them stay healthy, whether it be whatever, power development, lower half, wherever it may be, accomplishing those goals and seeing that come out. That's great too. And I love that. I did it for 8 years, but being here, you kind of get to that too. We have about 8 to 11 pro guys that come back and work out here. That some went here, some did not. So being able to still kind of get that bug and work with them too, so accomplishing that, building that, helping with that foundational growth is huge too.
No, I mean that sounds like it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get to still keep that tie-in and that connection with the major league level, the high level, the pro level, and then you get to watch these kids grow up, which is almost more exciting because you can see, like you said, you saw a dude go from 84 to 101, and then he's playing pro ball on TV. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. From a development standpoint, so now I want to talk a little bit about the transition from like high school to college. Mm-hmm. What would you recommend some of my young athletes to focus on?
Nutrition, controlling your body. I see a lot of young kids and it's one thing that you see the country has gone into a different, I guess, wave than when we were in high school. It was, it obviously the social media is crazy, but not, fitness is huge now in this country, which is amazing, and I love it. Yeah. But certain things are, you can go on Google and find anything now. And so young kids see things on YouTube, Instagram, whatever it may be, and think, oh, I'm going to do that. Well, you might not be developed. You might not be ready for that. And so get the basics first, master the basics first is what I tell people. I kind of equate training like math. A lot of guys from high school, and they want to do some really, really complicated, complex movements. And I'm like, okay, well, you want to do calculus right now. And right now you're struggling with simple addition. That doesn't make sense. So let's get back to the basics. Let's concentrate on the simple addition. Then we go multiplication, division, build you up to algebra. And then when you're ready, then we'll go to calculus. We can get sexy. We can get creative. We can do some complex movements, but that doesn't make sense if you can't do a simple hinge pattern. That way you want to power clean. I see guys that can't even hinge, front squat, and you want to do a power clean. And it's like, whoa, time out. You're putting about 4 or 5 movements in one, and you can't do any of these simple movements on a broken down fundamental basis. So let's retract a little bit, go backwards, and build you up. So I would say the nutrition and focusing on your just basic movements and controlling your body weight I guess those are the top most important things that I would kind of try to preach.
Yeah, no, I see it all the time that kids come in, and obviously I've got guys who have been with me for 2 weeks, and I've got guys who've been with me for 4 years, and they see the guys going that have been with me for 4 years doing stuff, and they just want to jump on the same rack. And I'm like, whoa, dude, no, you got to learn to walk before you can run. You got to learn 100%. To put these pieces together before you can get on any of the fun stuff. Yep. You go grab a little dumbbell. You're going to squat over here while they do their front squats. Yep. And I like the that's a newer one for me. I usually use a car. Like, you put a little Tonka truck tires on your souped up F-150, ain't going to go very good. You're going to break them wheels.
Yeah. So and whatever analogy you can get that they'll understand, whether it's the oil for the food wise, what kind of gas you're putting in a Maserati. Because a lot of things too, a lot of kids want to eat like crap, man, because they can get away with it because they're 16, 17, 18, 19, and then they can have a terrible nutrition. And I'm like, you're trying to out-train a bad diet, and it's never, ever, ever, ever gonna work. So that's one thing we really focus on. We have a great nutrition staff here that's able to, work cohesively with myself and Woody in the training room that helps. I mean, that's the thing. You can have a program from Jesus, and if your nutrition is terrible, it's not going to matter. And that's one thing a lot of people don't really understand sometimes.
No, yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I don't know if you've seen some of my social media stuff, but I got myself a little bit out of whack, and then I spent the last 90 days trying to. Yeah. So, but I didn't change anything from my workout perspective. I just changed the way I was eating, when I was eating, what I was eating. I hydrated better, and 90 days, it was a big difference from where I was to where I am now. So I definitely think that that's something that a lot of kids miss the boat on. And part of it, I don't think is all their fault. You got busy parents, and they don't know how to be taught that. They don't have the resources that you do at UT to teach it. So
you're exactly right, man. Like, that's the one thing. Another thing about here, as far as when you asked about if I would ever consider, one thing about UT, man, we have every resource known to man. Like, we had more resources than a couple of the professional, actually most of the professional organizations I was with, especially depending on the time I was with them. So it's like, I mean, you have to kind of appreciate where you're at. And I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, we have so many resources here that, yeah, most places are not, or most families are not going to have. And that's also, but one thing I got before we got on this call, like one of our freshmen, he FaceTimes me every day because he didn't eat vegetables until he came here. Never had a green vegetable until he came here. And he throws very hard, very, very, very hard. He's going to be really good. And, you know, it's understanding him. And I told him, he goes back home and it's, you know, Granny's cooking for him. And I'm like, how about this? How about you go cook for Granny? And then you need to learn these things: how to cook, how to shop, how to read a nutrition label. So those things are things that I believe in teaching them. So that way, when you get to the Cape, when you get to the Pro Bowl, when you get to the big leagues, you understand how to do all that. And it's just, I mean, you think it's very simple, but like you said, not everybody has those resources or ability to do that. And so, sorry, we're going to teach you how to cook breakfast and do all this. So that's another thing, too, that we try to do, man. It's educational on all fronts of just being well-rounded young men.
Yeah, no, for sure. Something I wanted to dig into, because it kind of caught my ear a little bit when you were talking about you did a FaceTime call with your freshman there. Obviously, being at the college level, it's a little different because you have breaks. You have a part of the summer where half your kids go one direction, half your kids go another direction. So what do you do during those times to continue that education process for them? Do you set up weekly meetings? Do they reach out as they need to? Like, what's that process look like for you?
It's both. I'll set up weekly for the guys that need more of the attention. I'll set up weeklies, or if it's like we have, he's a redshirt junior now. After our first year here this summer, he literally called me every day in the Cape to ask what he could eat and if this was okay. But it was a learning process. Because it was like, this isn't just, I don't ever want it to be, okay, Coach Q told me to do this, so I'm going to do this. I want them to understand the why. The why is always important for whatever, in the weight room, nutrition, understand the why of what we do, because that way you learn. So to answer your question, basically, the guys that need more attention, they'll get the more. My phone, they notice my phone is always on. Literally, most of them take advantage of it, whether it's 10 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning, unfortunately, some mornings. But I'm here to help. I'd rather them ask me the question and instead of not asking and then either just not eating or eating like crap or, you know, whatever it may be the situation. Yeah. So I'd say yes to both of those. I'll do individualized, like some guys need to every day, you know, you're calling me before you eat lunch and dinner, and then we're going to figure this out, and you're going to learn. And then some guys, it's like, you know, they don't need as much. They just call them to check in, or I'll call them to check in, and it's, how's everything going? It's good. You know, I have to be creative out here. That's another thing, too, man. When we were coming up, you know, you go to Wendy's, you got some 99-cent JBC, some chicken nuggets. You can eat healthy wherever you go. So teaching them that, though, you got to be disciplined. But teaching them that is something that is very fulfilling too, is to understand how, like you said, of how much eating well affects your body, hydration on a daily basis, energy levels, performance, everything. So that's, like I said, with our nutrition staff, we're able to kind of hit that top over the head with them. So
yeah, I mean, and for, I don't know, I sure hope these kids appreciate what's going on with all that communication and that learning and that opportunity, because I don't know about you, but when I was in school at college, when I left, I didn't hear nothing till I got back on campus. It was all right, see you in 3 months when you get back here and we'll kick your butt again, and then send you on your way for winter break, and then see you when you get back and we'll kick your butt again, and wash, cycle, repeat.
Exactly. That's how it was. And at Ashland, he had a really good strength coach. He's a thrower, legendary, but he just wasn't a baseball guy. So I was very, very, and that's what I tell my guys, I was very, very strong when I was in college. It just wasn't functional. And so that's why they need to understand that it's I don't want to say it's irrelevant, but it's not as important as how much you squat, how much you bench. It's what can you do with that.
Yeah.
And teaching these young kids that, like we talked about, that see Instagram and see all this, and they want to just throw a bunch of wheels on the barbell, and that's not the goal. movement,
no.
focusing on the movement pattern. So
right, yeah. I mean, to be a high-level athlete, you got to move efficiently, and it's not just how much weight you can move. I mean, if you just want to be a strong man, cool, go pick up some stones and carry some stuff.
Right.
But if you want to be an athlete, you got to be able to stop weight. You got to be able to change direction. You got to be able to do all the different things that. I mean, in baseball, you got to be able to rotate, which is super difficult for a lot of people. So locked up from sitting all day and playing video games.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. You already know. Exactly.
So, I guess the big thing here is what's next for you coming up here? What's your schedule looking like going forward for the next few months? Because I know we're getting into the end of this year, beginning of next year, which means the kids are probably gone, or are they still there doing finals?
They're finishing up this week.
Okay.
And it's most of them are gone because we've gone to after Thanksgiving, we were all virtual classes, finals and everything. Okay. So most of them, a couple have stayed back to just finish up and get on the loose ends with our academic team that we have here to help them. And then the rest of them are at their respective homes and they're working out. They're trying to prepare to figure out. We don't start school till January 20th. So trying to figure out what's going to happen. Like I said, it's the hurry up and wait. Usually it's like, hey, we come back January whenever, and then it's February 14th around there, opening weekend. Well, we can't say that because we don't know. So it's still a little bit the training of the unknown. It's going to be this winter break is going to be a little bit more Zooms, FaceTimes, just staying in contact to making sure I'll steal another coach gut, the eyes on the prize.
Yeah.
We got to make sure the eyes always on the prize, and they got to understand that we're gonna play. Okay, we don't know when, but just make sure you're handling business, because you guys say, like you said, you want to play pro ball, do this. Well, this is the closest thing you're gonna get to pro ball right now, off season. So you want to be a pro ball player and you want to train like that and be held accountable. Okay, well, let's see how it is when you have an extended break, how you're going to hold yourself accountable. So
no, this is that easy time for somebody to get distracted and lose sight of what they're doing, what they're trying to do.
A lot of idle time.
Yeah, and you know how that goes. A lot of things that distract you, a lot of tough to get in trouble, all that sort of stuff. So hopefully they keep their eyes focused on what they're trying to accomplish and set themselves up for a nice big year for you guys, because I know it's been a long time coming to get that success that you guys have built over the last couple of years there. So
yeah, man, trying to. And that's the thing too, is just keeping these guys hungry and realizing that, like you said, next task. Okay, you win a national championship or you make it to Omaha. What's next? What's your next? How do you keep a whole group of collective individuals focused on accomplishing another goal? So you're right. It's going to be good to see, and it's going to be good to kind of unleash the beast out there to see how we can kind of compare. But I think we'll be ready.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I know. I'm no doubt with you staying in their ear and that staff working as hard as they do, you guys will be as ready as anybody else. So that's for sure. For some of my listeners, if they want to connect with you, reach out, get a hold of you, what do you recommend as far as following along what you're doing? Any social medias, emails, anything you want to include to let them kind of connect with you?
Yeah, my Instagram is at @Q_Eberhardt. Get on Twitter too often. I have one. I think that's at @Q_Eberhardt. But yeah, email. It's QEberhardt@utk.edu. It's on the website too, for the UTK website. Any questions? I'm typically try to respond to my emails. And yeah, any way you want to reach out, anybody have any questions, feel free. I'm kind of an open book, because it's, just trying to help kids get better, man. I'm trying to help answer questions.
Yeah. So no, I appreciate you taking time to talk to my guests and people listening at home here, because like I said, I think you got a lot to teach, and that comes from the experiences that you've gotten to work through as a player, as a coach, as a mentor, and all those types of deals that you've had to work through. And obviously taking those Coach Gusler's Gusisms, as you will, and passing those forward, that's always a huge piece of the fun part for me. So,
absolutely.
But yeah, so appreciate you coming on. That's all for today, guys. As always, keep reaching for the stars. Fall flat on your face, but no matter what happens, whenever we fall, always get up.
Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and join us again next time as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But no matter what happens, remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. Please take a moment now to subscribe, rate, and review our show. We are all on the edge of greatness.